How do I act so well? What I do is I pretend to be the person I'm portraying in the film or play.
Yeah.
You're confused.
No,
It's perfectly simple. Case in point, Lord of the Rings. Little Peter Jackson comes from New Zealand, says to me, Sir Ian, I want you to be Gandalf the wizard. And I say to him, you are aware that I am not really a wizard. And he said, yes, I am aware of that. What I want you to do is to use your acting skills to portray the wizard for the duration of the film. So I said, okay. And then I said to myself, how would I do that? And this is what I did. I imagined what it would be like to be a wizard, and then I pretended and acted in that way on the day.
Yeah.
And how did I know what to say? The words were written down for me in a script. How did I know where to stand? People told me. You see?
Yeah.
So now you would be pretending to be John in this play, and how would you know what to say? Well, the words would be in the script.
Yeah.
And you would learn the words. You would not have the script on the night. And that goes for everybody. There will be no scripts on the night. You learn the words.
Yeah. No,
And
I
you speak them as if you were saying them for the first time.
I didn't think we would have the script.
No, but you won't.
No,
because if you did have the script, it would break the illusion, and the whole thing is illusion. Do you see? You are not really John.
No, I know.
You are pretending, and that is acting.
TBTL. In 1971, Bill Gates invented Microsoft. Wouldn't it be cool if I could remember my dingus password for my email?
We are super fun here, and I promise I won't stop until this little guy's leaping and laughing like the other kids.
Wow, that was very hard to hear. So many negative words.
As my grandpa likes to say, hot diggity dog. As I like to say, hot damn!
Have a good show, dummies. What you do is so important.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome, everyone, to a Thursday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
Is it too early to get a fish sandwich?
My name's Luke Burbank. I am your host.
I'm an activist and house party enthusiast.
Coming to you from the Madrona Hill studio, perched high above the mighty Columbia.
Oh, Ma, Pa, it's just beautiful.
Absolutely spectacular Thursday, July the 30th here as we arrive at episode 4782 in a collector's series.
Let the fun begin.
eBay has settled with a couple of journalists, some married journalists, for $56 million.
I don't want to sell anything, buy anything, or process anything as a career.
For stalking them, apparently, and going kind of nuts on these people that were, in my opinion, not really posing that much of a threat. Also, there was a guy returning to the United States via the airport, and Customs tried to grab his phone.
I'm trying to use the phone!
He pulled like a serious James Bond move, which now he's seriously in trouble for. We'll talk about duress code, not dress code, which we do enforce strictly here on the program, but duress code. Also, it's a Thursday, a.k.a. Blur's Day, so do Blur's Day messages. And we're going to say hi to this guy, longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. Now that we do record these programs visually, he gets a little bit nervous.
I've never been on live television before.
He's Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. I told you before the show I had a question for you, and I almost asked it before the show. Then I said, you know what? I'm going to do the unthinkable, and I'm going to ask this question on the show because, well, it's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, what you really said was, I'm going to ask you a question whether or not it's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you know,
I thought
all indicators are leaning towards no right now, to be honest with you. But I don't know how closely you've been following the news out of Seattle, but how much does it delight or dismay you that a law enforcement conference is at the heart of the biggest news story in the city right now?
I didn't see that they are actually having a law enforcement conference in Seattle.
No, it's a little bit more complicated than that, which is why it's such a bad idea to bring this all up and then untangle this story that I'm about to tell you and then untangle why it's relevant to TBTL.
Let's start with how many billboards
there are outside.
There happen to be outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
So there was, that shooting in Seattle this weekend at an event called Bite of Seattle. It was incredibly scary and incredibly tragic because several people died and a bunch of people were injured as well. And it was a shooting between, I guess it was one of those shootings where everybody was kind of shooting at each other. They were involved in the crime, but then there was people who were caught in the crossfire. I just want to clarify because you and I were talking off air recently about how it's being described as a mass shooting, which I think has sort of different implications, firing specifically into a crowd randomly.
Yeah, I don't know why that was something that I needed to really obsess over early in the week, but like a lot of people, I saw the headline. In fact, I think the first indication I had about this event was on TikTok, which
so
I don't know how
strange.
I feel
I don't
about
think
that.
of TikTok as being, and maybe this is just I'm not on it that much in my algorithm when I am on it, but I don't think of that as a place where you get breaking news. I didn't realize that could happen.
You know what I get on there a lot is completely fabricated breaking news.
That's no good.
They'll just announce the death of someone famous. It'll just be a still photo of them and then some graphics or whatever. And I will. This has happened probably at least 5 to 10 times now, where then I have to go search it up, and go on the real internet and see did this person pass away? And it's never been the case. It's just purely someone trying to get clicks. But yeah, the other day I did see a real human, and he was talking about this shooting in Seattle, and so then I went over and referenced it with the Seattle Times and stuff, and sure enough, it had happened, and it was being called a mass shooting. And again, it's the least important part of the story, but I just felt like that was a kind of a misleading description. I know that mass shooting indicates there's some, probably a
definition that
there's a certain amount of people losing their life in a shooting event. Mass shooting does sound like somebody with a gun went to a place where there were a bunch of people and attempted to end as many lives as possible. And right away from the scant details at the beginning, I was like, it's the Bite of Seattle. There's a ton of people. They're looking for a couple of people. That sounds like two people shooting at each other, which is obviously no less sad for the people who lost loved ones in the crossfire, or even the family members of the people doing the shooting. It doesn't change their grief, but mass shooting sounds like something different than a couple of young people making terrible decisions and taking shots at each other.
I agree, and I think that's an interesting conversation just strictly from sort of a media perspective, because I haven't seen anybody having that conversation, but you and I, because you brought this up to me the other day, just sort of as an aside, because it's going on in the world, and so we were just chatting about it, and you had identified something that was sort of itching the back of my brain as well, which is from the moment the news broke, and it was identified as a mass shooting. I actually felt the need to text my parents to say, hey, it's a little bit later where you are, but you're probably going to wake up to some headlines about a mass shooting at a big event in Seattle. Just want to let you know that I was not there, and nobody I know was there. And the reason I felt the need to do that was because it was described. I mean, listen, again, as you just said, I mean, people lost their lives. So I would want to maybe tell my parents that I was okay either way. But there is something about the term mass shooting to me that makes it feel more like the type of thing where somebody is intentionally firing into a crowd of unarmed people. But anyway, that is not why I bring all of this up. But obviously, that news, that shooting happened on Sunday. It and the fallout from it continues to obviously dominate the news cycle. One of the people involved in the shooting still has not been found. A big side part of this conversation, though, is that the relatively new police chief was not in town for this. Maybe he's been on the job for, I feel like, under 2 years. I could be wrong about that. His name is Sean Barnes. He was hired by the previous mayor, and it was unclear whether or not the new mayor was going to keep him once she was elected, and she did. She ended up kind of keeping him around. But I follow a journalist that you know, Luke, Erica C. Barnett, who writes for Publicola. That's her organization. That's her news organization. And for months and months, if not a year now, she has been... she's kind of a left-wing...
She's a longtime police supporter, though, right?
Yeah, she's a left-wing, kind of activist reporter, but also a really good, I believe, fact-based reporter as well.
I think she's a very talented reporter. Very, very sourced in what she does. Very factual.
Very sourced and very thorough.
I don't always agree with it, but I will say it's good reporting.
She is and she's very. I mean, she just digs in, and she just is constantly getting public records and digging and digging and digging. And I actually do agree with her most of the time. One thing that she had been really hammering on, though, that I didn't necessarily disagree with. I just didn't know that it rose to her level of ire or the attention she was paying to it for, again, months, if not a year now. She's been writing about the police chief's schedule, because the police chief still, like, he never, like, it never felt like he fully moved here. His family is still in Chicago. His I believe, wife and child or children still live there. He goes back there a lot. And so she's just constantly reporting on what his schedule says, because that's public record. But then he's always gotten tetchy with her because he feels like he's being sort of targeted, which I guess he is, saying, like, kind of accusing her of misreporting. And she's always saying, no, look, it's just the schedule that your people gave me. Like, you're out of town in Chicago these days or whatever. But he is also known for, when he's not doing that, he's going to a lot of law enforcement conferences, a lot of them, like something
trying to find a new wife.
7 since like February. I think maybe I'm
Seriously?
getting that wrong. But anyway, the reason and the thing is, when you're reading about this kind of an abstract, and I'm just reading Erica's posts about it or stories about it, I'm kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's not a great look, but also, you're the head of a huge organization. Like, there are a lot of people who are making the decisions on the ground. Like, I just didn't get my ire up about it. But when he was out of town at a law enforcement conference in Texas during the shooting and didn't make an appearance in Seattle until the next day, that really highlighted the situation. And then Erica's reporting started to be picked up by more and more people. And I know you saw this on TikTok or some clip of this the other day. A reporter, I think from the South Seattle Emerald, but I could be wrong about the publication, asked the police chief about this, like in a hallway, maybe at City Hall or something, and the police chief kind of really got in this reporter's face in a way that his chief of staff had to like sort of separate them in his defending of his honor and his schedule and why he has a reason to be out of town. And then that kind of blew up, and the whole thing has just gotten really ugly. And the reporting today, even though it has not come from the mayor's office or the police department yet, is that Sean Barnes is out. What I have heard is that, and this is what's being reported, that he's been asked to resign or he will be fired. But that is not official yet. And once again, I would
He's been asked to stay in Chicago, where he was when he got the call.
Exactly. So anyway, that is the background of the story, which started with a very tragic event that I had to begin the show with. One of the many reasons this was a bad idea. But you and I have this long-running joke, a kind of joke, reference to law enforcement conference, because of that movie 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, in which one of the main characters, a police officer, right? He's married to a woman with an Irish accent, but they live in Missouri. And you were just like, how did he... And she's in law enforcement as well, and you were just like, you were kind of incredulous about the movie and that sticking point that took you out of it. You're like, why? It's never referenced. This guy just has a wife with an Irish accent. And I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe they just met at a law enforcement conference. And I just thought that was a totally reasonable thing to say, but for some reason it became, maybe it's because we were actually kind of bickering about it. I don't know what it was, but that sort of became, now whenever I hear law enforcement conference, I think about 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. And now here we are, Luke.
I feel like you're surfacing this particular aspect of the Seattle story to prove to me that there are law enforcement conferences.
Yeah, because I'm still...
Message received.
Yeah, because I'm still trying to win. No, it's just so funny because it is, I mean, I was just everywhere I turned today, I'm just like reading, it's kind of like, well, he was at a law enforcement, I'm reading this article, he's at a law enforcement conference in Texas when all this happened, and he was at X many law enforcement conferences since January or something like that. And so anyway, it's just so funny to just keep seeing law enforcement conference. I'm like, maybe he met a woman from Ireland there.
Maybe that's what he's been doing. By the way, I'm going to come in with a bit of a spicy take.
Be careful, though. It's spicy.
Does this have to do with the 9/11 attackers?
No, you also referenced that in our sound check today. So people know.
You're dealing
he also
with a
says
live
weird stuff off air.
You're dealing with a live wire today.
Yeah, right. No, there are, I'm sure, exceptions, and I'm gonna hear from people. I think that the actual value of going to a work conference is greatly overstated. there are exceptions. Sometimes you can learn some important stuff. Sometimes you could maybe make some good connections. But like, you don't need to go to multiple law enforcement conferences, even if you're a lonely heart. As the chief of Seattle Police, I also didn't think it was a fair criticism initially. I didn't know about the law enforcement conference aspect of this.
Seems to be a blind spot for you in general.
I'm putting a 4th billboard up outside of Ebbing, Missouri. It's you with a giant Ghostbuster sign over your face. I didn't know that part of it, and when I was seeing a certain amount of kind of like, aftermath of this violent event being about like, where was the police chief? I thought, well, like, it's Sunday and he doesn't have to be at the Bite of Seattle, but I didn't know there was like a kind of a long running thing going on where he's maybe not even living in Seattle, and also he's going to a lot of conferences. I just think those are the kind of things that I think they're fun to go to because it's not your normal job. And again, there are examples where there is some professional development and some good important stuff that can happen. But I do think if you are the police chief of Seattle, your more sort of prime directive is be around. So if something bad goes down, you get paid presumably kind of a lot of money. It's a very important job. And one of the things that goes with the job is you kind of mostly need to be around. So when something unexpected happens, you can kind of be there quickly.
Yeah, that's why I say, like, I wasn't all worked up about his schedule that much. I would read these pieces and not even think. And again, like, I'm a huge fan, a small supporter, and a big admirer of Erica's work. And I thought you were going
to say of law enforcement.
I'm a huge fan, conferences.
A small supporter
yes,
of law enforcement conferences.
And your contributions to the show, Luke. I'm a big supporter of those as well, and a big fan. But as more and more articles kind of came out about this, I was just sort of having trouble, like, kind of, thinking or caring about it that much. It seemed like this is one of those things where Erica was sort of like a dog with a bone on it, right? Just like you just won't let it go. But I got to say, with all of this news, and the fact that he was gone during this event, it's kind of like, oh yeah, and I think I'm agreeing with what you're saying, if not just restating it. It's like, well, that is why you need to be here. So before this tragic event on Sunday, for me, just an average taxpayer in Seattle or whatever, I'm not like seeing the chief of police around town anyway. You know what I mean? Like, whether or not he's at a law enforcement conference in Tallahassee or on a Zoom call with his team from Chicago, it doesn't feel like it really affects me that much. I'm not going to really worry about it that much. But when you do have events like this, which luckily have been very, few and far between in Seattle, but you're absentee, and then you look back at this idea of it kind of like feels like, do you really live here? Are you really part of the community? Suddenly that does matter to me more, I would say. And by the way, I know that that I'm going to record at KOW later today. I'm not using this as practice. I do not think this is a topic that's going to come up on the show. I think we're talking more about Blue Angels and more fun stuff than what I'm bringing.
Oh, are they intentionally avoiding this?
Well, I don't know. Now that this breaking news has happened about the potential resignation or firing of the police chief, maybe they can't avoid it. But the podcast I'm going on, the whole point of the Friday show is to try to be a little bit lighter. And so they even said earlier in the week, like, we're going to see how the news develops, and hopefully. And so the topics for the show that I'm supposed to go on, which we'll record today and we'll post tomorrow, called Seattle Now, I think it's going to be more like, how do you feel about the Blue Angels? Because I think that's happening this weekend, and like some more like lighter fare. Although at this point, like kind of waking up today and seeing this news, it's a little bit hard to imagine not talking about the police chief, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty big story out there.
Yeah.
Did I see a headline, too, that there's something about the Blue Angels that's not going to be as Blue Angel-y?
Well, that was a total... Yeah, I mean, that's another, like, Seattle Times, like, bullshit headline. I mean, yes, there's one thing that's changed. Seattle Times yesterday or the day before had one of those headlines that said, there's something different about the Blue Angels appearance this year.
Which was as far as I investigated the matter.
And it's one of those things. It's like, why don't you just say what the whole thing with the Seattle Times now is their headlines are specifically, if not misleading, they're as they apparently say, hide the pickle. They don't give you any information. You have to click through. They've become very
beloved Navy flying group is 50% off, including home delivery and it through the app.
It frustrates me so much. But anyway, the headline was that something different is happening with the Blue Angels performance this year. The only difference, and you had to go like halfway through the article to get a quick mention of it, is the Fat Albert plane, like the refueling plane. You flew in that, didn't you, with Dave Ross, or no?
No, I think it was a different one.
Really?
But I do know what well, again, you probably remember better than I did. I think I went in some kind of airplane, right? But
you went into some sort of the Fat Albert. And what is the Fat Albert? That's like a big.
If we search up Luke Burbank Fat Albert, what do you think's going to happen?
Luke, hey. That's what I was going to say to you, but I wasn't going to do the voice. I do remember we were going to try to get you into one of the actual Blue Angels, I think, because you were working for the commercial station at the time. And we couldn't get you into one of those, but I thought that they gave you a flight on Fat Albert. But maybe are you finding anything from our old Cairo days? Does it say that you flew?
I'm Googling myself. Excuse me. I'm searching myself up, and it says, why the Blue Angels aren't worth the traffic headaches from mynorthwest.com. That's me,
okay.
I guess. I'm being quoted. Oh, this is Stephanie Klein.
Right.
Writing
taking
about
something you said on the show and turning it into
It's hard to
headline.
argue. The Blue Angels screaming across Lake Washington in perfect formation isn't breathtaking. This is, I see. They did a survey of the Cairo hosts.
Oh, okay.
Dory Monson was a fan, as you might imagine. Luke Burbank, I friggin' love the Blue Angels.
Oh, yeah, you do.
There's something visceral about the Blue Angels flying overhead. I feel a physical response in my chest of happiness. I really regresses me to being like a 4-year-old. Although that all changed for Luke on Thursday when he was stuck on the 520 bridge during the I-90 closure. But no, I'm not finding me in whatever that. But that's that.
Here's a but I have found a mynorthwest.com article that's called "The View from Burbank Roof Studios." Did we get them to write up our little adventure on your roof, or was this a different one?
Jamie Griswold was maybe even at the house for that.
Oh, so this wasn't the TBT.
May have
this
even
was
taken
something
that
else.
photo of you.
Okay. No. When it was you and me, I know it was just you and me on the roof. Jamie Griswold wasn't there, but maybe she. Oh no. This is it. The photos aren't on anymore. But this is a blog post that they wrote about our experience. Can I read this to you?
Please.
This week, the Blue Angels are in town. We decided it might be fun to do the show from the roof as they were flying overhead. There was just one problem. It turns out Andrew is very, very afraid of heights. And again, this is not TBTL. This is the Ross and Burbank show, right? And then there's a missing photo. It says that's why he needed to lie down at the beginning of the show. Then the Blue Angels roared by. Missing photo. And Andrew was forced to move back to his, quote, auxiliary recording station, which I believe was hanging out your bedroom window, right? Still, it was super fun for us. Sorry, it was probably not particularly fascinating audio content, but what else is new? Because I do remember grabbing that sound of you and me on the roof and playing it. We played it for Dave on the show, I believe.
So what is the actual story of what is going to be less whatever about the Blue Angels?
There was just one mention that said Fat Albert is like...
Fat Albert won't be there.
It's not going to be there because it's being repaired in Germany or something like that. It was literally one sentence in this article that had nothing to do with that headline.
Yeah, that is a little... Because if you tell me that there's a problem with the Blue Angels or they're going to be less fearsome or spectacular, I'm not thinking of their much more slow-moving cousin, Fat Albert, that comes swooping through before they come through. He's not a Blue Angel.
No.
That's like
it
saying,
is a tradition. I do think that it shows up with the Blue Angels like every event.
Very much so. And I like
50
it. Like,
years
don't get me wrong.
Sure,
I've been out in my boat bobbing about on Lake Washington watching that Fat Albert
just
thing.
Rumbles in like Rowdy Tellez.
But, great Rowdy Tellez reference. He got DFA'd, by the way.
Oh, really? Yeah. Was that a while back, or was this?
It was a couple months ago. You hate to see a Rowdy Tellez DFA.
You do.
But, no, I mean, I do love that thing, but I just feel like saying the Blue Angels makes me think it's one of the, like, 5 or 6 of those, particular kinds of jets, not, something in the overall kind of air show of it. I was wondering about this going into Seafair weekend. Oh, by the way, speaking of... You sort of side referenced it about like another annoying Seattle Times headline. I wonder if you were referring to something you and I talked about off air that I was a little bit creased about, which was like the fact that in the wake of the events at the Bite of Seattle, which, again, very tragic, but not something that if I lived in Seattle would make me feel like it was a public safety hazard, I guess, to go to Seafair. I would not be personally concerned about going to Seafair and being in a crowd based on what had happened the previous weekend, right?
You wouldn't be, and I wouldn't be, but if I'm being totally honest about it, if you think about the readership of the Seattle Times, they're reaching probably a lot of people who live outside of Seattle and have ideas of Seattle becoming a dangerous city. And I could see some of them being like, I don't know, should we go to Seafair? You know, do you think that's totally out of line? And I don't like that attitude, by the way. I think it's BS. But I could see the Seattle Times reaching people who are kind of like, I don't know if I feel like going into the city for this. There's already going to be a headache with the traffic that those Blue Angels cause, if I remember Luke Burbank's quote correctly.
Well, it just was one of those things where I felt like this headline was something to the effect of, and it may have changed. You know how again these things also change over the course of the day. So I think I might have seen an earlier one than what you saw.
No, I saw it. I'm sorry. I'm not defending the headline. I am defending the idea that there are probably some people who maybe feel differently about Seafair now. But the headline itself was total bunk.
Well, it was something. But So here's what the headline was that I saw. It was Seafair organizers assure that they have a plan for safety.
Oh, I'm sorry. We did see different ones. I saw one regarding the CEO.
You informed me about the fact that the person in charge of Seafair also apparently was in Las Vegas when that very, very, very upsetting mass shooting event happened that did cause a tremendous loss of life, and that somehow because she was there in Las Vegas, that's going to somehow, I guess the gist of the story was that she's better equipped to run Seafair, which is, if you don't live in Seattle, it's like the big summertime kind of festival. There's some parades associated with it. There's hydroplane races, which I do think you would love, Andrew.
I know. I can't believe I've never seen it.
Kind of a speed demon. I think you would get a kick out of those hydros.
More ways on. By the way, sorry to disagree with you when I was wrong. Yeah, the headline I saw, I thought we were vibing. I thought we were negative vibing off of the same bad headline, but the one I saw was, and I'm looking at it now, Seafair Weekend Festival Security Shaped by CEO's Mass Shooting Survival. And I didn't understand that headline, and so I opened it and I read it, and I realized that the Seafair CEO had been at that Vegas shooting that you were just referencing.
Yeah, the version that I saw was basically, I felt like the Seattle Times trying to, again, I don't want to assume, sort of ill intent or whatever, but like it seemed to me like somebody was trying to think of the next story to write about the thing that happened at the Bite of Seattle. And look, honestly, I guess it is a natural next story, which is like, hey, there's another big, huge event happening next weekend. What are the implications for that event based on what just happened? So here I am talking myself into why that actually wasn't a terrible idea for a piece. But again, it just feels like this kind of hand-wringing about something that is very sort of impossible to predict and very hard to prevent, unless we were to get actual, real, meaningful gun control in this country. Like, the idea of, like, we reached out to the Seafair organizers, and they said, like, we feel like people are going to be safe at Seafair. Well, first of all, you don't know that. That's impossible to guarantee. And again, my personal feelings about my safety of going to Seafair would not be impacted by what had happened at the Bite. It just felt like one of those nothing stories that you see on local television or maybe even hear on certain Seattle talk radio stations where it's like, okay, this thing happened, this tragedy at the Bite of Seattle, and now we have to like take that and we have to pick every little piece of that apart and keep making content out of it, which truthfully what I said to you off air the other day was, I feel personally relieved that you and I don't currently host a talk show together at Cairo Radio because I'm assuming that all week this has been the main topic of conversation. And it's one of those topics that I just think it's really difficult to create very much light around. And I don't mean the police chief and the police chief's schedule, but just a tragedy happens where people lose their lives and it should have never happened. And then it's like our job to make 3 hours of radio out of that. Yeah. And like that was really what kind of drove me out of the business was just those kinds of events, school shootings and the like, where it's like, well, now we're just shifting to rolling coverage on this, but we don't know anything about it.
We don't know anything more. And like, so let's talk about this police chief thing, right? That we started the show with. It was your idea. Weird way to start the show, but okay, it's already out there. So
I said, if we don't get one law enforcement conference reference in today, I'm walking.
It was such a strange meeting today. But anyway, I hear this news started rumbling late last night before I went to bed. Again, I think it
about
was
the police chief,
about the
maybe
police
being
chief.
fired.
Yeah, and I think that it was Erica Barnett again who maybe had the scoop on it. She had a couple of anonymous inside sources saying that a meeting had been held with the mayor, between the mayor and the police chief or whatever. So I go to bed thinking like, oh, this is, and I got to say, when it comes to like news stories, I am attracted to palace intrigue in maybe a way that I shouldn't be super proud of, but that is the kind of stuff that kind of like, kind of it titillates me journalistically. And so when I woke up this morning, and then the Seattle Times has the story, and then I'm listening to KOW, and they're just giving there's not that much information out there, so I just get a little bit of an update here. Sounds like a little bit more of a confirmation here. And then, they had a little bit of breaking news on it, but there's not a lot to really have. There's just not a lot of information to turn this into more than an update here and there. But me, as a news consumer who is interested in this palace intrigue, I was like literally thinking like when KOW went to like some sort of long segment where people were literally reading I guess letters that they wrote to bodies of water around Seattle. And that's the thing that KOW was doing today. I was just kind of like, I don't want to be listening to your poems about water right now. I want to know what's going on inside City Hall. Like, just put a reporter inside City Hall with the cell phone and just feed me. I just don't want to hear about your relationship with the Salish Sea right now. Woman who hosts silent discos on the beach once a month, which is literally what I was listening to. And so, but the thing is, that's me as a consumer wanting that information, but also as somebody who has a brief familiarity with the news industry, I also understand that it's not responsible to just keep it 24/7 rolling coverage on this breaking story when there's nothing new to report, because that is when you get into speculation, and that is when you're like, well, we got to get another person who's going to speculate on this or throw stones about that, So it's like, it is this balance that I think news organizations have to think about, or even, I don't even consider Cairo really to be a news organization anymore, but let's say a content organization. Like, how much do you give the people what they want?
I think of it more of my place to find lawyers for men.
Are they for divorce or what? Are there any clinics? Are there any clinics that men can go to if they were interested in clinicking up? Anyway, you see what I say? What I'm saying though, it's like I'm almost hypocritical about it from a news consumer standpoint and what is responsible news coverage.
Well, to use a weird analogy, and one that'll sound like we're not doing justice to the seriousness of the topic, it's sort of like, for me when, the Seahawks win a big game and I turn on sports radio, that's all I want to hear them talking about is the Seahawks. It's like, I want to hear them reflecting back to me the thing that I'm currently obsessed with.
Yeah.
And if you're currently obsessed with the news story about what's going on in City Hall with the police chief, then yeah, you'd want to hear that. It sounds like, and again, I'm just learning all of this morning from you, but it sounds like this is one where it's very possible that this is all happening because of Erica C. Barnett's reporting, right?
That feels like it to me, but you got to keep in mind, you're hearing this from a very specific point of view as somebody who probably reads her stuff more than the average person and gets her articles directly emailed into my inbox, so I kind of see it more than the average person. So maybe other people were banging this drum, but it seems to me that she's been the kind of lone voice on this, and now that you have this event where he didn't show up, the police chief, that it does sort of, I find it hard to argue that it's not her story to begin with.
Right, because if there's not this kind of, like you said, drumbeat of stories about like, hey, what is this person's schedule? Where does this person live? Is this person, around enough to do the job? If you don't have all of that leading up to it, if this is literally just like the first, like, hey, there was a terrible event and the police chief was out of town, that's one kind of story. But it's like police chief who's been notably out of town a lot is out of town during a thing that we needed him here for. That kind of feels to me like this is probably, it's so rare in this day and age that independent journalism, and I'm being serious now, can actually kind of make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems like it's making a difference.
And kind of playing the long game. I mean, this is where you also get into, this is also where I think you get into some sticky issues that maybe we should just moved on before I open this can of worms. But I do feel like there is something that goes on with investigative journalism that I feel like I've witnessed firsthand at like kind of state and local levels inside newsrooms, which is like a sense of pride when somebody resigns based on your reporting, right?
Sure.
And usually, I mean, I think you can justify that. You can say that's because this person was misusing power or misusing the office or doing something untoward in some way and therefore didn't deserve their position of power anymore, and we ousted them. Like, you should be
held them
proud of it.
accountable.
We held them accountable. But when you're somebody who has a very specific point of view on issues in the city and then uses your reporting to sort of raise awareness of them and again, as I keep on saying, sort of bang a drum, it can get a little bit dangerous if you're just kind of like, I'm going to keep banging this drum until I create so much problems for this person that it's just easier for the city to part ways with them or however it turns out. You know what I mean? Like, and for me personally, not that it really matters my opinion on the chief of police. I don't have any inside knowledge of him. And again, I get all my information from the Seattle Times and Erica C. Barnett and NPR or whatever. Like,
I get all my information from the Seattle Times headlines.
You get all your information
gives
from
me a limited amount of information.
Me reading the Seattle Times and listening to poems about the water on KUW, and then I report it back to you. But
that's what I want to talk about that in a minute.
Okay, cool. I was being a little bit harsh there, but anyway, I do think it can be a little bit of a dangerous game if you're just trying to get somebody fired, and it's kind of like, well, this is maybe more based on your political leanings. And in this case, again, I see eye to eye with Erica on most issues, especially because she does a lot of reporting around homelessness and poverty issues and the city's safety net and all of that kind of stuff. And she does a lot of hard work on that, and it's an issue that's, important to me and important to the city, I think. The Sean Barnes thing, that's the name of the police chief, like, it always seemed to me, I'm kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but he did not seem like a bad guy to me. You know what I mean? He seemed like a guy who, like, I think we've all, like, known bosses or have had bosses like this. It's like the person who comes in who's very focused on, conferences and conference culture and, just like, might not be the most effectual person in the world, but not necessarily ineffectual and not problematic in any way. And so, like, I've just never had this fire in my belly about, like, this guy, we got to get him out of town. I felt that way very much so about previous police chiefs here in the city that had to do with their handling of police response to protests and stuff and deleting text messages that should have been public information. Like, I've had very strong feelings about police chiefs in this town. Sean Barnes, I have not had. He just seems like a guy who's like, he's kind of just probably a guy who really does like glad handing and going to conferences and doing that, but it doesn't necessarily mean
he's a fan of Hilton Garden Inn.
Sure, why not? And also, you know what I mean? And again, it might not be the best look, and it certainly isn't when the crows come home to roost. Is that the expression? But when what comes home to roost, Luke?
Chickens.
Do the chickens come home to roost? What are the crows doing in this situation?
They're memorizing our faces and plotting our ultimate demise and passing it along across generations.
When the crows come home to memorize our faces and then pass them along to future generations, and there's an event like what happened this weekend and the police chief isn't there, it is bad. And you understand why that kind of lifestyle is not great. But I never felt like he was an especially like bad, problematic, toxic guy. I felt like he was actually from my very distant perspective on reading, he seems like a very well-meaning guy who came from a smaller police force, I believe in Madison, Wisconsin, I think, and took over a larger police force, but a police force that needs, frankly, good energy and good vibes here in the city, and he seemed like he wasn't necessarily counter to that.
Yeah, the thing that I thought was that I wanted to circle back to about the water poetry is the funny thing is the reason that I sometimes have a hard time listening to public radio these days is because there's not enough water poetry, and I mean that sort of figuratively. Like, what I'm realizing in this particular era of life that we live in America is that so much of what I hear on public radio, particularly the stuff actually coming down from the network, it's not even really at the like station level as much as it's the network. It's just kind of reciting awful things that are going on related to Donald Trump, but not providing a lot of, I don't know, I mean, I know that the NPR is very nervous about, being seen as editorializing on things, but it's like, just feels like they're just standing next to a house that's on fire and going, this house is on fire every single morning. And it's like, well, can we get a hose? Can we do something? And there's something like, when I watch Chris's show on MS Now, it's the same stories. And granted, they're doing a different kind of thing on MS Now than they do on NPR, but it's like there's something that is calming to me, or I listen to the Pod Save America guys, there's something that's calming to me about like, people saying, yeah, this house is on fire and here's how we got to put it out. Or here's a part of the house that's maybe not on fire right now, and this is why we should feel some optimism around it. It's like NPR, it feels to me, because NPR, because of their mission of really trying to be neutral, but also really trying to cover the news, is just dispassionately giving me the worst updates of all time. And what I find myself missing is like Andre Kudrescu.
Yeah, right.
Baxter Black. Stuff that is just like, and just stories about nothing. Like things that I used to cringe at that were on public radio because they were so not part of the news of the day and were so just kind of like woo-woo and whatever. Like I would love, my message to the, whoever runs NPR these days is bring back more cowboy poetry and also water poetry.
K-N-E-A-D as Wonder Bread. Did it involve machetes, table saws, piano wire, or laser beams? Can you imagine two bakers and a candlestick maker trying to mash a wad of dough through a harp, or the grill of a 53 Buick, or a window at Alcatraz? Unwrapping nature's goodies has always tested the ingenuity of man, be it coconuts, spuds, or watermelons. But there are still several seemingly simple tasks that require considerably more effort than their benefit seems to warrant. Dentistry, for instance, or peeling the shrink wrap off of CDs, maybe sharpening a paring knife.
I'm getting some ideas for my next commentary.
little vitamin Baxt.
Love me some Baxter Black. I was trying to find some Kudrescu on the fly. Here we go. Here's from, do you remember him too?
Oh,
he was like a Romanian guy who I think
stuff.
lived in New Orleans. Here's a headline for you. Google is back. Oh, Google backs a new digital world, but what about the real new world?
Google is investing in a startup called Improbable. The stated goal is to create digital simulations of real cities, economies, and biological systems. This made Romanian-born commentator Andre Codrescu think of life under communism and that dream of a new world.
When Putin's hackers intervened in our democracy, Stalin stood up from his grave and applauded. Putin did what Stalin couldn't. If Stalin had had internet, he'd have built the communist dream of a new world with a few keystrokes instead of starving and killing millions of people. Putin, a would-be Stalin with internet, hacked.
I swear to God, that guy's voice.
Yes.
I can't remember if we were talking about it off air, on air, or on a future program, but like things that just make us feel nostalgic and cozy and safe. Hearing that guy talk time travels me back to being like 22 or 23 years old.
Yes.
I'm working at KUOW. I'm probably not. I'm probably working at Metro Traffic Control, but I'm going into KUOW to steal free books and resell them at half-price books on Roosevelt. And I'm hearing Andre Kudrescu, and it's like, just I have my whole life unfolding in front of me. It's like a very calming, a very comforting voice to hear. And I would like more of that, even if it's poetries about the Salish Sea.
No, me too. I was being a little bit rude about that, and also I know that somebody who we know and like and that I work with is actually one of the people who is producing that too, so I feel a little bit bad about dunking on it, but I think I was using it specific. It was kind of cringy. I mean, it was actually well edited, but it was also just sort of cringy. Some parts of it were more interesting than others, but by the way, just can I add one more voice to the mix of our Wayback Machine here?
Please.
Some she stole from roadside construction sites, and some are plastic rocks molded to look like granite boulders. I have been working on my soil for years, digging in shredded leaves, making compost, and planting green.
Looking at your face right now makes me think that maybe you were not a Bailey Whitehead.
I had a lot of whiteheads.
She was
at the time that I was listening to Andre Kudrescu.
Bailey White was doing a lot of commentaries around the same time as Kudrescu.
I remember
and Baxter
hearing
Black.
the name.
I love
kind
her
of
voice.
bounce around. But yeah, that was the time. I would like, again, I'm just repeating myself, but what I would really like the people in charge of NPR to do is like just give us, if you can we get an 80-20 going? Can we at least get 20% meaningless, cringe, old school NPR stories about butterflies and or I don't know, cicada emergence or something. Can we just
Or
go
the-
back to some of that?
Or the
and-
cellophane on CDs.
I mean, they're so hard to open.
They really are. You need one of those special little devices. Did you ever have one of those devices? I never had one. I feel like parents had them. They would go to a law enforcement conference, right, and come back with like some sort of like little like CD opener blade thing that has like
had
the
a little
name.
kind of razor blade in the.
Yes.
Speaking of public radio, I feel like that was somehow like public radio stations that specialized in music. Like, so if they were, that was their primary focus or whatever, they were big on printing those up, like making those, and then giving those out at the PRPD and the like.
I think I finally got rid of it, but I had a Mountain Stage branded chapstick roll in my desk like for years, and I think I got it at a conference with you years and years and years ago.
Was that the that's sort of a public radio music show out of like sort of Appalachia, right?
Why did I think it was out of Colorado? I felt like it was
Well,
out of
because the word
Denver or
mountain
something.
is in there.
Yeah, that's probably why. Was it out of Appalachia?
No, you're probably right. Let me see.
I don't know. I don't know if it's still going on, but yeah, it was like a live music show. It was almost like a Prairie Home Companion if it was all music, but that was like kind of the vibe, right? Down home.
Yes, and I know that Chris Thiele used to host it sometimes.
Oh,
I know that
I didn't know that.
My CBS nemesis, Connor Knighton, I think, hosted it for a while. And I say nemesis because he also works on Sunday morning, but is more motivated, more handsome than me, which is kind of everyone at this point, and way better at the job of being a CBS correspondent. But people do sometimes switch us up in their mind because we're like 50-ish-year-old white guys of a certain comportment. Looks like they're still doing the Mountain Stage.
And you're right about Appalachia. It's West Virginia Public Radio. You're absolutely right. I was letting the mountain cloud my vision.
The mountains win again, in the words of John Popper from Blues Traveler.
Is that a song, or is that just something he said when he was driving his truck full of vans across the pass?
His truck full of vans?
I'm sorry, I meant his van full of guns. Never mind. Didn't he get in trouble? Didn't John Popper get in trouble for driving a van full of guns across like...
Yeah, because he lived in... This is, Blues Traveler, the guys that did Hook, and they've got a bunch of big hits, but he's a harmonica enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
And then he moved to like Issaquah, and then there was some story where he had like a armory going on out at his place. I don't think he threatened anyone, but it was like a weird amount of guns for someone to have.
Yeah, I feel like he got pulled over in a van that was like chock-a-block with guns, which is just
something like that. But he does have a song
there?
called "The Mountains Win Again."
Oh, I didn't know that. I wasn't really. I only knew was that one that would have been on the radio, or did you have to have a CD?
It would have been on the CD. Speaking of opening CDs and cellophane and the like, it would have been. I wanted to blame this on Columbia House, but I don't think that's fair. I think I went out and, of my own volition and my own money, bought a Blues Traveler CD
of sound mind and sound body.
I do solemnly swear that I, Luke Burbank, did voluntarily purchase the Blues Traveler CD that includes the song "The Mountains Win Again." No, that song "Hook," and then what was the other big one?
Give me the run around, or is that Hook?
Oh yeah. No, you're right. Run Around.
Okay, then how did Hook go?
The hook brings you back. I ain't telling you no lie. And it has this really fast part. Suck it in if you're in Tintin or Anne Boleyn. Make news and then begin to see what you're doing to me. This MTV is not for free. It's so PC, it's killing me. So desperate I sing to the of love. I'm getting really into We Didn't Start the Fire territory where I'm hitting about 1 out of every 9 words. But I did like the music of Blues Traveler back in the day. But yeah, they have a song called "The Mountains Win Again."
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
I remember seeing something bouncing around, it might have even been TikTok, about this sort of a couple of journalists in, I want to say like Connecticut or something, who were in it with eBay. And I feel like they were putting out these posts, and I thought, these people are completely crazy. Like, they're just obsessed with this thing that they think eBay is doing to them, and this has got to be like a delusion in their own mind. And then I saw this article in the New York Times yesterday, which, give me a moment, because of course, the mountains win again, Andrew. I don't have the right version of the New York Times going for myself here. I'm going to have to try to log in.
This is going to log in. Do you want me to? What do you? Is David Streitfeld, who wrote the piece for the New York Times. I know you like to give credit to the writer
do.
of these pieces. And the headline is, "Couple Stalked by eBay Settle for $56 million." And I'll buy you a little bit more time here, Luke.
Please.
I'm glad that you started there, because when I saw this article in the show sheet today, I was like, whoa, that is a blast from the past, because I vaguely remembered talking about some story where there was some couple, and I don't even know if I remember they were journalists, started getting like weird, macabre things sent to them from eBay, right? And it seemed like a weird thing. And I didn't realize that it went all the way to the highest rungs of power at eBay. I thought it was just some maniac in like the shipping room at eBay being weird for some personal vendetta. But apparently this was actually... It was because these reporters were uncovering things that the CEO of eBay didn't want uncovered.
The journalists in question, and thank you for buying me that time, were based out of Massachusetts, and their names are David and Ina Steiner, and they run some kind of like website that writes about, I guess, internet stuff. And many years ago, I think that they were, let's see, in a brief, the Steiner said the case was never just about money. One of their goals was to raise an alarm. In the spring of 2019, eBay was under pressure from an activist hedge fund. A handful of Ms. Steiner's articles, including one about a bar that the CEO of eBay at the time, a guy named Wenig, had built on eBay's campus, infuriated company executives. This is some real Erica C. Barnett territory.
Yeah, right?
Andrew. Everything comes back to one muckraker today. One muckraker can make a difference. So they had this woman, Ina, had written an article about eBay having a bar on the campus. And this infuriated company executives, according to texts that were later revealed. And then this person, the CEO, who eventually had to step down over this, said something which is later on in the article, basically said, "End them," or something to that effect. Like told this kind of like private security force that eBay had hired to like take these people out. And so they like mailed them boxes of cockroaches. They did all kinds of crazy stuff.
Funeral wreaths and other things that
Yes.
made them sort of seem like vaguely threatened.
Yeah, they were. I think what happened was this was uncovered. Like the totality of this kind of stalking project was uncovered right before these like private thugs were going to go over to the house and like break into the house of poor Ina and David, who are just writing their little, I assume, fairly inside baseball articles about the fact that eBay has a bar on the campus.
Yeah, I'm glad that you remembered this as well, because I was like, man, I remember this story, but we had it so wrong that this was like an actual coordinated campaign from the top of eBay. And now this guy, I can't remember his name, the CEO or whatever his title is no longer with eBay.
Devin Wenig. Devin Wenig
right,
is the former CEO.
But even though is a former CEO, is being personally held responsible in the settlement, right?
Kind of. What he said, by the way, was take her down. And then he said, do whatever it takes, which is not ominous at all.
No.
Although later on, he claimed, and he is officially on the record as saying he had nothing to do with this, except for the part about saying take her down and whatever it takes.
I mean, and the fact that he was petting a cat with his big iron fist at the time really made it seem more ominous.
The fact that he was inside a island hideaway shaped like a human skull,
right.
And he was in the left eyeball of it, and then, petting a cat.
And when he laughed, his laugh would echo, and birds would fly out from the trees.
Kind of seems to belie this idea that he didn't order this thing. Yeah, he was actually being held personally financially responsible to a small degree. I think it's maybe $1.5 million he has to pay, which I think is actually being donated to local journalism. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, I see. So he's only responsible for a small part of this.
He's responsible, for a tiny amount of, relatively tiny.
Yeah.
But to the credit of the Steiners, it sounds like what they said to him was, the money that, let's see, the former eBay chief executive, Devin Wenig. You shouldn't be allowed to have the first name Devin if your last name's Wenig.
Just because
they're
tough
too close together.
That's
just too weird. It's
part
too
of the
many letters that I'm not used to.
Of 2026.
Thank you.
Yes.
Devin Wenig and two other former colleagues will pay the couple a total of $2.5 million. Mr. Wenig will also, I had this slightly wrong, will also pay $1 million to a charity dedicated to protecting First Amendment rights in the name of Ina Steiner, the announcement said.
We need that. We need
Yeah, so-
the organizations that are supporting First Amendment rights. Let's all donate a little extra to them these days.
But it's like it never ceases to amaze me how myopic people in positions of power can be about websites, including one called ecommercebytes.com.
Yeah.
Reporting on them makes an impact on the wider culture.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people I've even interviewed through maybe my CBS stuff and other stuff where it's like somebody is a pretty big deal down at the Cracker Factory, and they also are in the comments of like every article that's written about them. Like, and they're very, very concerned about how certain kind of coverage is going to go, even coming from very, very sort of like low traffic websites and stuff. And it would just seem like if this Devin Wenig guy would have just realized that ecommercebytes.com writing about the bar on the eBay campus was not going to have a widespread impact. You know, it did have a widespread impact. You hiring a bunch of thugs to send them cockroaches.
It's almost like a darker version of the Streisand effect, right?
What's Streisand effect?
Streisand
the song
effect?
The song "Don't Want to Miss a Thing" by Aerosmith.
Wait, what
More
is
on that
what
in a
is-
moment.
Oh, I don't know.
I consider that the ultimate Streisand effect. But
Okay,
let's go with your
you tell
version.
me that, and I'll look up to make sure I get the Streisand effect right. But the general idea of the Streisand effect is there could be a small non-news story, but then if you, somebody with a big megaphone, try to slap back at it, as Streisand did in some sort of famous event that I can't remember the
Was that
details
about her
of right
dogs
now.
being cloned?
I don't think so. I think it might have been before that, but it basically means like, no, you're instead of like fighting back at this, all you've done is let the world know about this thing the world wouldn't have known about otherwise. So I'm going to look up the specific Streisand effect. You tell me why you're talking about Aerosmith.
You know, Aerosmith has that song "Don't Want to Miss a Thing"
Yeah.
that was on, I believe, the lesser of those space movies where we have to go knock a space rock down.
Right.
There was a period of time where Americans couldn't get enough films about crack teams of non-astronauts who have to go into space and try to save humanity. I think there was like Deep Impact, and then there was a different one.
Armageddon.
Maybe Armageddon?
I don't know. I've never. There's like three very like now iconic kind of the world is in danger movies that came out around that time, and I get them all confused. 'Cause I've never seen any of them.
I'm thinking of Mars Attacks. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. We come in peace. That was my favorite moment of that movie. Okay, so what's the connection then?
So Aerosmith did this song, "Don't Want to Miss a Thing," which is like, even when I dream of you, the sweetest dreams, or whatever. This is not my day for lyrics. I apologize. But they wrote this. The song was written by a woman named Diane Warren, who's actually a very, very prolific songwriter and has written many, many hits. Diane Warren has. And she wrote the song, "Don't Want to Miss a Thing," based on watching an interview between Barbra Streisand and James Brolin, her husband or her partner, where James Brolin apparently said, "When I'm lying in bed next to Barbra Streisand, I don't even want to go to sleep because while I'm sleeping, I'm missing the amazing thing that is Barbra Streisand."
Oh, my God.
And Diane Warren is watching this interview, and she thinks, isn't that a sweet sentiment? And so she writes this entire song, "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing,"
Don't want to miss a thing.
based on, that's a pretty decent
Well, I
Steven
just
Tyler.
wanted people to hear what it sounded like.
And so that is, so I think of the Streisand effect as being the song "Don't Want to Miss a Thing," because if not for she and James Brolin, we would not have the musical miracle that is "Don't Want to Miss a Thing."
Here's the thing about the Streisand effect. The way I described it was generally correct, although less articulate than it is here in Wikipedia, where it says the Streisand effect is a phenomenon in which an attempt to hide, remove, or censor information results in the unintended consequence of the effort instead increasing public awareness of the information. So that's what I was trying to explain to you. I got it right.
You're correct.
The origin is just really boring. It has to do with a photo of her like
Has to do with a guy named Greg Streisand.
Some sort of estate that she had like on the edge of a cliff in Malibu, and there was some company that was taking photographs of the coastal waters for something unrelated to like privacy. But she like sued to get the photo removed from the project or something because it showed her estate, and they were like, no. But she ended up just creating way more attention to these photos of her estate. I don't even know. I don't think they were like saucy photos or anything. I think they were just of her estate, although I could be wrong about that.
She was just like prizes her privacy or something and wants some. She said something else that at the time bothered me. It might bother me less now as it relates to home improvement. Because when she's not trying to get them to take down photos of her estate, she was also doing interviews and Architectural Digest and other magazines. Because she, had this phenomenal home, which she had designed herself and it had been, designed to her very specifications. But I remember reading some interview with her, and it must have been around the same time that I was trying to fix up some house that I lived in, but I was the one doing all the tearing down the drywall. And she just was talking about all the work she did on this house so extensively. And with, I feel pride around some of the remodeling projects that have happened here at my house that I didn't actually swing a hammer on. So I think I can maybe relate to it a little bit more now. But at the time I was like, we need rich people to stop talking about the remodeling projects that they paid for as being the remodeling projects that they did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, they were in charge of it. It wouldn't have happened without them. But it's like, there was something about the way that she was describing. I was like, well, if you have $1 billion, you can get a lot done. I don't know, I'm not that impressed with somebody who's just super wealthy and they just kind of get their house made all nice.
As somebody who
wealthy.
just recently failed at having somebody else do a home
it ain't
reno
that
project, and I didn't try to swing a hammer at all in that, and we now have a half completed kitchenette with a sign over it that says "Mission Accomplished" for some reason. So
heck of a job,
maybe
Brownie.
Maybe I understand.
Can I improve your
more.
mood by reading you a quick list of the songs written by Diane Warren? Because there are some bangers.
Do I have to sing the chorus of each one?
You
or the title
absolutely
of each
do.
One?
Oh,
Okay.
I love this.
You
have just improved this game by 150%, if not
We got to
more.
do Blur's Days, it looks like. We probably don't have time for this right now,
There's a right way to rock.
Okay, go ahead.
She wrote Right Way to Rock, by the way, which is crazy.
Top of the list.
Heidecker cover of the Diane Warren song. If I Could Turn Back Time.
If I could turn back time.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I think this is actually going to really be in your wheelhouse because these were
Yes.
all just chart toppers of the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
Look Away by Chicago.
Look away, baby. Look.
Yep,
I can't.
you're doing it.
Yeah,
You're doing it.
I'm kind of.
If you see me walking by and the tears are in my eyes, look away, baby, look away.
That's actually. I heard that. That sounds like maybe I heard it at the grocery store or something recently. It seems like a grocery store song. I actually love that line. I'm not a big Chicago fan. Is that Chicago? Did you say?
It's Chicago.
Yeah, I'm not a
as
big
written
fan
by
of that.
Diane Warren, though. But
that's where some
it
of our
gets better.
best police chiefs are from.
If you see me walking by on my way to a law enforcement conference,
the way to booth 35.
and if we meet on the street someday and I don't know what to say, look away, baby, look away. Don't look at me. I don't want you to see me this way.
That's kind of heartbreaking,
because
man.
it's a total. I mean, that seems to be a theme, right?
Yeah.
If I could turn back time,
Yeah.
if I could find a way, I'd take back those words that hurt you
Yeah.
and you'd stay.
Yeah, I like this songwriter.
Is that the one that she's on the aircraft carrier?
I
If
believe
Could
so.
Turn Back
Yeah, that's
Time,
a
right?
super horny, super gay coded video. Yeah.
Exactly. She's on an aircraft carrier with 100 of the straightest U.S. sailors you've ever seen.
And she's wearing practically nothing with
fishnets, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if I could turn back time, Look Away by Chicago, Because You Loved Me.
I can't help you with that one. You got to help me with
Celine
that.
Dion.
Oh, I don't know any Celine
I know
Dion
the
songs.
tune, but not the lyrics. My
Okay.
sister Hannah is going to kill me.
Sorry,
It's
Hannah.
You gave me something when I couldn't speak. You did something when I couldn't be. God, this is terrible. And the chorus is because you loved me, but sung much better because it's Celine Dion.
Yeah, that doesn't
How
ring a
about
bell.
How Do I Live? Leanne Rimes.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't think I know it. Leanne.
How
Rimes.
do I live without you?
Oh yeah, I do
Again,
know
part
that.
of a
That's
theme.
Leanne Rimes. Okay, all right.
How do I live that when you up? How do I ever never survive? It's a little out of my range. How about When I See You Smile by Bad English?
No, I'm sure I know it, but I'm not calling it up. I'm
When
not
I
just
see you smile, I see a ray of light. I see it shining right through the rain. That's a Bad English version of a Diane Warren song. How about I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith?
I don't want to miss a thing. I gave it even more
There you
English that time. Bad English, but I gave it more English that time.
So yeah, that's the work of
That's
Diane
it.
Warren.
That's the end of the list. Okay, I'm really sorry that I
those are the
faltered
biggies.
there.
Those
yeah,
are the biggies.
no. I wasn't trying to let you down.
No,
No, that's another song that she wrote.
I wasn't trying to let you down. Popularized by Laura Branigan.
Hell yeah.
There's a right way to rock and a wrong way to roll. You can just listen to your soul. Just remember that life is number one. You can be having so much fun. Just remember that life is much fun. You can be number one.
Whoa, Luke.
What happened?
Whoa, I pulled the music down too far. Sorry, that was more dramatic than I meant it to be. I had prepared all of the Blur's Days last night in a very unusual state of preparedness. I don't usually do that. And I just was like, maybe I should just check and make sure that none came in overnight. And they did. So I'm going to grab a couple more here.
Nice. Better safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your dedication.
Let's see here. So I need to grab this one. How are we doing on time? We doing good?
Can I buy you?
Please do. Yeah, because I realize one of these
feeling?
is way too long. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, you know what? This is far too far in advance. I knew that I had a couple of B days on my calendar coming up. Our friend Toon has a birthday. It's a Golden Blur's Day, though. It's next Thursday.
Oh,
so we're way ahead of the curve. And then my niece Maddie of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where you can see her play this August in Edinburgh. She has a birthday next week as well on the 8th.
Okay,
Do you want me to sing more? Diane Warren?
I'm struggling because there's a story that I think is really funny, but I don't know if I should really tell it. It's a little bit telling a tale out of school, and I know that one of the people involved listens to the show and will hear me say this. But I think it's okay if I just keep Toon's name associated with it, but I leave all other names anonymous. A friend of ours gets the whole gang together at his family's cabin, which he's allowed to use like one weekend out of the summer, and at a lake somewhere. And he gets a whole bunch of us to go out there. And I got to say, for the past several years, I have not. I've stayed back and done yard work and big hedge-related projects or whatever. I don't like spending the night at places.
I hate you because you look
That's
different.
not true. I love everybody who goes. I just don't want to spend the night at a place. So anyway, all of that is to say, Toon
Didn't you and I sit in a car and listen to a Mariners game?
No, you're incepting a memory that I had with my friend Neil. That was one of my favorite moments.
You got high in a car listening to the Mariners game, and I'm stealing your memory.
Me and Neil were like, we couldn't get reception. You can't get cell reception to listen on your app, and the transistor radio inside the cabin wasn't working. So we just went out to my car and listened to a few innings of a Mariners game several years ago, and then I happened to have a joint. I don't know, and it was just like high school all over again.
Fully Grand Theft memory you. I'm glad you caught me, dude.
I'm glad you brought it.
I feel really bad.
Grand Theft Memory is also a possible show title.
Sorry that I tried to steal your life experience.
Anyway, so the story I was in the middle of telling was. So Toon is one of the main people who always goes to this thing, and it always sort of doubles as a bit of a birthday celebration for her as well, because it's around that time. And so even though, and by the way, I'm the one who looks the worst here because I haven't been going for years, and that's very ungracious of me. But Toon always goes. Toon will sometimes. It's funny. In fact, last summer, Luke, I was on my way back from buying Twisted Teas at SARS. The gang was all going out to the cabin. It was a Friday night, and a car slowed down behind me, and it was Toon. She had to stop in the neighborhood for something before she was
that when
heading
she
out
was
to
buying
the cabin.
a tremendous amount of soda, or was that a different time?
That was a different time, but it was. I'm just remembering this now because I remember. I think I was drinking the Twisted Tea because I was like, I can't go to the cabin. I got stuff to do. And then you're caught red-handed
sauntering down Aurora with a Twisted Tea in your hand.
Yes, but anyway, the story this year is, and I hope this is okay to tell this story. Apologies to all my lovely friends if this is untoward of me to share. But Toon sent a note to the gang this year saying, "Hey, listen, I'm really sorry. I appreciate the invite, but I can't make it this year. I'm traveling for my birthday because it's a big birthday."
Yeah, I'm seeing
year
that on
for her."
Instagram.
And she said, "I'm traveling," but this was like maybe more than a month ago. This is maybe 2 months ago when they're planning it. And our friend who hosts the event says, "No problem at all. Where are you going?" And she was like, "I don't know yet." And there was something so funny to me. And just knowing my friend, I was like, I don't know if that's going to sit well with my buddy who's kind of like, again, graciously hosts this thing. And I'm sorry, I can't come. I'm traveling. And where are you going? I don't know yet, but definitely not to your place. But it's very understandable, though. I mean, she's probably, she's with her family, planning something. They didn't have the details locked down, but they know they wanted to travel for her birthday. That's totally reasonable. But I just knew that it was just going to come off kind of funny in the text.
That played out exactly like I would expect it to between those two individuals, knowing both of them and loving both of those individuals.
Yes.
I actually, you know what? I have to say, I appreciate the honesty from Toon.
Me too. Yeah. Yeah. And that's
what
why
I would have done.
I try not to lie about that shit either. I just tell people now, you know what? No, I want to get a bunch of yard work done or whatever it is. I don't like spending the night places. It doesn't mean I don't love my friends.
I just say the first thing that comes to mind, and then I have to go there. Romania. All right. Going to visit Andrei Kudrescu.
Oh, that sounds like fun. All right, let's reset here. This is why you got to listen to the Blurs days. There's little gems hidden inside, little tea spilling.
The crows come home to roost.
The crows come home to identify our faces. Sarah says, we've got a 5's 9th birthday happening this week. Amelia is a lifelong TBTL listener and even appears at times in an opening sound clip. We'd love to have you remind her how proud we are of her and how possible it is that she gets some of her great humor and thoughtful analysis from you and Luke. I mean, 9 years times 260 shows a year. She's about, 2,340 episodes deep? Yikes. Happy birthday, Amelia.
I will absolutely take the credit for everything cool and funny that Amelia says. And none of her bad renditions of Diane Warren songs. Those she does not get from old Unky Luke.
Amelia's going around making law enforcement conference jokes.
Trying to explain to the other kids at school.
Amelia, you're not allowed to listen to this show.
Okay. Are you familiar with the work of Francis McDormand?
Phil in Broadview says, Oliver, Elliot, and I are jazzed to shout out our Prime 10 Sarah on her special day. It's so fun keeping our family on the rails with you, giving 6 gallons of gratitude to a 5-gallon bucket as we are rebaptized in the ample bosom of, I don't know how to say this. Is this the lake that is impossible to pronounce? It's spelled CANANDAIGUA.
I think you're thinking of
Lake Chargogagog Manchogagog Shalboonagungамog.
I'm going to assume that's it. Your family can't wait to celebrate you and wrap up the summer with cocktails held high. Saludos.
Nice.
Is that
Keep it on the tracks, guys. Keep it on the tracks.
Oh, look at that. All aboard! Jackie, our pal Jackie, says, I'd like to send a special Blurs Day shout out to my girl, Tracy. Her Blurs Day is Sunday, and she is one of the best 10s I know. Tracy,
absolutely.
I hope you have an amazing day, friendo. Hope to see you soon. Tracy, happy Blurs Day.
We love Jackie. We love Tracy.
Absolutely.
Love all of it.
Tracy made a special necklaces, right, for the beat party? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jackie was there as well.
Yeah.
I'm legally, and I mean this in every sense of the word, I'm legally obligated to point out that Jackie Justice is an attorney who works for justice,
I know.
who works for people who need access to the legal system and is named Jackie Justice. And I will never fully recover from that information.
I know. It's Jackie plays a lawyer on BoJack Horseman, and her name is Jackie Justice, right?
Not to be confused with Jackie Jump or Jackie Jorm Jump,
who we did not name our
or
frog.
Dave.
Okay, now I didn't even realize this. I'm rearranging things because now I'm seeing how there's a what do physicists call it? The unification theory. We have some unification.
Oh, unified
theories.
field theory.
Yeah, we have some unified field theory going on here.
Nice.
Here's Tracy P now, who is just receiving some Blurs Day, saying happy birthday to my favorite birthday twin, Jackie Justice.
Oh, come on.
Who knew TBTL would pair me with someone who has such impeccable timing? Literally. Here's to another year of laughs, funny pictures on Facebook, and proving that sharing a birthday is the ultimate 10 thing ever. Leo's rule. Happy cake from your pal, Tracy.
Cute.
And I realize we have another
So I
one
did that
here.
because Leo is a lion. and
Oh,
it's a cat.
that's why
It's like a
you do
small
it. Oh,
lion.
Interesting. Ben says it's that time again for the Blursday that's cooler than the other side of the pillow. A listener of OG
Nice
10
Stuart Scott
fame.
reference.
Your single most loyal fan back from 2008. She was there 3,000 years ago. I may be biased, though. I want to send a Blursday shout-out to Tracy P. Look at
Wait
all
a
of the
minute.
love
Hold on.
raining down in the
My
kids
wife.
community. She's bold. She's beautiful. She'll kick your teeth in if you're mean to people. Seriously, though, she is maybe literally the sweetest person in the world. A true mensch in all of the best ways. Remember,
the sound of her kicking in teeth when needed.
Oh, no, those were my teeth.
Really using a sword in that case.
Hey, remember Keith from Chardon, Ohio, who came to the frog jump a
Sure
couple
do.
of weeks ago? Keith says, would like to wish, I guess it says, Keith from Chardon, Ohio here would like to wish his amazing wife, April, a very wonderful, fun, and
My wife.
relaxing Blursday weekend. You're an amazing person, wife and mother, and I'm so fortunate to be your husband. You're always game for my crazy ideas, like driving across town to visit a frog jump festival. Love you so very much.
I don't know if this is a place for it, Andrew, but we got some tea.
Oh,
on
yeah?
Keith and April that
Oh,
they shared
yeah?
with me, and
Oh,
everything
yeah.
that you share with me at a quasi-listener event of TBTL becomes public record.
It's on the record, yeah.
They went, I believe, to their high school prom with different people.
What?
And then I don't know how much canoodling happened, but their eyes, I'm making up this part of the story, but their eyes locked across the dance floor in that gymnasium. I assume the theme was Under the Sea or some other prom-like theme. And they ended up, they fell madly in love at the prom that
At
they
the
went to
prom.
with different dates.
Really?
Scandalous. It was the scandal of Chardon, Ohio, which is a pretty good Mark Twain book.
I was going to say, it does sound like a book. It sounds a little bit like a mystery, maybe. Anyway, April, happy damn birthday. And I'm not apologizing for swearing. Happy Golden Blursday to my mom, Madeline. Over all these 46 years, one thing has always stood out. Your determination, your kindness, and your unbreakable will. Through diagnosis and losing our feathered friends, you and Dad have always been a supporting pillar through me and Dad's darkest times. So thank you, Mom, for all your support, and wishing you a 46th Blursday. Love, August, Dad, and the critters.
We have a significant number of Augusts in our listening
We do. Yeah.
audience.
Yep.
We've got a Gus. I think we've got an Augie or two. We've got an August. I think we've got a couple of Augusts.
Very, very popular name.
Yeah, with our listeners. There's something about the kind of people who like this show that tend to name their children August.
And also my my colleagues, my friends and colleagues in New Hampshire that I left behind when I moved out here had they were babies named Gus at the time, and now of course they are driving cars. They might even be flying the Blue Angels this weekend. They're so old now. I don't know.
Incredible.
Yes.
Did you know in that other side of the pillow, that's a Stuart Scott reference from Sports Center?
Oh,
I think
no, I did
about
not.
that all the time. He sadly has passed away, Stuart Scott, but he was an anchor on Sports Center, and he used to say when someone did something really good in a game, he would say, "Cool as the other side of the pillow."
Oh, I like
and
that.
when I sometimes in the summertime flip the pillow over
yeah.
at 3 a.m,
It's a great
I
feeling.
think of Stuart Scott.
That's
I've never flipped a pillow over so as to find a cooler side of it and not thought about Stuart Scott in the last 20 years.
That's legacy. Right
That's
there.
serious.
I don't care what
What's
my
our
type-
legacy going to be?
I don't.
Me singing Diane Warren?
I just want everybody. When and if and when I pass on, I want somebody to delete all of the TBTL archives and just forget about me.
I just want to say for the record, this show does not count as part of my legacy.
Okay.
Okay, this episode.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, just this episode. I thought you meant
Only
TBTL.
this episode.
I was like, that's
no,
going to be a
just
tough
today.
one.
I'm talking 4,782.
Okay, yeah.
There's other ones I feel good about. This is just not one of them.
Yeah, I got to say, when we started the Blursday segment and we were getting credit for forming and helping shape young minds, I went back
Amelia's mind.
I went back to the beginning of the episode and I thought, yeah, I really should have started on a different topic. Sorry, Amelia.
Well, thank you to all of you for listening to this episode today. We are going to be back here tomorrow. We're going to try again. You know what? it's nobody bats 1,000, okay? So we're just going to get up. We're going to step up to the plate tomorrow. And unlike Cal Raleigh, we're going to actually deliver, okay? We're actually going to...
We're going to Ref Schneider the hell out of tomorrow's show.
They don't come back right, Andrew. I've always said that. I've always said that about Rob Ref Schneider. Yeah, we'll be back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio, so please, if you can, join us for that. In the meantime, everybody have a great Thursday. Take care of yourself. Happy Blur's Day to everybody out there. And please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.